Nous allons donc tout de suite enchaîner avec ce sixième panel sur les grandes tendances mondiales liées justement à cette innovation. Pour cela, j'accueille en ligne avec nous Christian Gregorovitch. Je vais encore une fois switcher en anglais, mais vous avez bien sûr la possibilité d'avoir accès à la traduction simultanée qui est assurée dans cet événement dans les deux langues. Hello, Christian Gregorovitch.
Ouais, vous pouvez parler français si vous voulez, je vous entends très bien.
Ah, mais autant pour moi. Merci. Bienvenue parmi nous.
Merci, thank you.
Donc, vous êtes le CEO d'Alliance Partners MEA et NextCare, aussi Global Head of TPA, Medical Provider Management and Digital Health Services. Encore une fois, bienvenue parmi nous.
Merci, Khadija.
Dr. Kouassi Bouaene, hello. Okay. Okay, I can see that Timothy Bishop is connected as well. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm just recalling that you're the head of the insurance unit for the OECD's Insurance and Private Pensions Committee, the IPPC. You've been at the OECD Secretariat since 2006 and contributed in a number of different policy areas. So welcome to you among us today here in Casablanca, and thank you for your patience. I know we had a slight delay, but thank you for your patience, all of you, by the way. And it's also my pleasure to welcome Augustin Min, Head of International Allen Startup, which is specialized in InsurTech. Hi, Augustin Min. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. Bonjour à tous.
Bonjour. So I'm going to try again with Kouassi. It's not here. And I'm calling on stage. J'appelle sur scène. Oui, allez-y, cher Benoît. Benoît, bien sûr. Alors, Laurent Billot, qui a rejoint les équipes marocaines de NextCare, qui est CEO NextCare Morocco depuis septembre 2021. L'acclimatation, ça va avec le Maroc? Avec un micro, ça serait mieux?
Ça va, Inch'Allah.
Inch'Allah. Inch'Allah, ça ira. C'est pour l'avenir. En tout cas, merci de vous joindre à nous dans ce panel où il sera question d'innovation. Christian, est-ce que vous préférez que je vous pose la question en français ou en anglais?
Ça dépendra à l'audience, Khadija.
La traduction simultanée est disponible, donc c'est vraiment comme vous le sentez.
D'accord, je vous laisse.
Je me laisse. Okay. So, how do you use the health ecosystem to empower the journey of insured members?
Well, thank you for your question. I think it's a continuation to the discussion the colleagues were having before us, where they were separating, part of the risk part and the management part. And on the management part, which is also very much interlinked with the risk part, the focus these days is very much around empowering the member. One, empowering them for the choice, so the choice to select, the doctor, the provider, where they would like to, to get access to the care. The second one is to give them the ability to navigate through the system. We have in different parts of the world, different systems. Systems could be very complicated, whether they're public or private, and how you want to access them. At the same time, you want to access them, but you also need either your public authority or the private authority to allow you to access those systems. So you need to have all that, all that flow of whether it's data or whether it's of information to be fully connected. And this is what we today are calling as that health ecosystem, which is putting them all together today to provide a better experience to the members. And this is how, you know, it is evolving from one market to the other on how you are using those ecosystems to allow better access to the members. You know, how you connect them, how you have better, you know, access to data, how your partners are fully connected together, you know, whether it's about, you know, what we are calling today as a connected health journey. You know, you have teleconsultation, you have drug deliveries, you have appointment bookings, all those different services, you know, getting your payments online very quickly. I was discussing with, you know, one of the colleagues here, you know, they are ensuring payments in a very short time. So all of that is part of the new ecosystem, you know, and I can even talk more and more, Khadija, but I just don't want to take the whole time. It's not just about that. It's also how you can influence the member. You know, when you start at the beginning of the lifestyle, you have those apps, the connected the devices, and then you have all the data feeding into those systems. So you can see it goes wider and wider. So the better you use them, the better you're fully connected, and, you know, managing the data, integrating the data together, the better experience, the better products or services that you can offer to your members.
Okay, thank you, Timothy. Bishop, insurers are today developing digital tools to promote policyholders' health and well-being. I understand that among the OECD, the organization has already started work in this area. Can you tell us more about these developments and why, the reasons why insurers are entering the health and wellness field through digital tools?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The OECD's Insurance and Private Pensions Committee has been looking at digitalization innovation for a number of years, as well as private health insurance and long-term care. And the committee as well is interested in sort of the broader role of insurance in society beyond the core insurance function, to extending to how insurance can promote risk reduction and risk prevention. So this project that we're doing on digital tools for promoting health and well-being is basically linked to this broader interest of the committee. Now, we've been looking at these tools that insurance companies have been developing in recent years, focused on, well, on the one hand, they're sort of, in a sense, new sort of digital versions of existing services. So, for instance, appointment services, digital appointment services, or telemedicine. The focus of area that for us has been on new types of digital tools focused on sort of new forms of diagnostics, as well as tools that have been developed with the intent of modifying policyholder behavior. And so, what are the sort of the background reasons for this? I guess we've sort of elaborated three broad trends. One is the fact that there's growing recognition of the fact that many chronic diseases and illnesses can be prevented through healthy lifestyles and behaviors. And behavioral risk factors include alcohol consumption, smoking, etc., and, you know, unhealthy diets, inactivity. In fact, up to 2/3 of U.S. deaths in the U.S. can be attributed to preventable diseases. The second broad trend, of course, is the role of technology in better understanding and targeting risks of disease, and allowing also for the development of personalized tools. The other development as well is there's on sort of consumer acceptance of these tools. I think COVID has accelerated this trend toward digitalization, but people are more comfortable with wearing smartwatches, adopting digital or downloading apps to their phones to monitor their health and behavior. And so insurance companies are essentially leveraging off these trends and building on sort of the growing wellness ecosystem that's already been developed by other companies. So they're tapping into a broader trend of sort of data pools and risk analytics to offer their own services to their customers. And this can be a combination in terms of areas of intervention or target areas. This can include health, activity and fitness, nutrition, and broader wellness. And I think what's key to these tools is the fact that is affected the behavioral elements. This obviously for many policyholders, they want to change their behavior, but they have difficulty doing so. So these tools have provided incentives and reward systems for policyholders to motivate them, to nudge them out of inactivity, to allow them to adopt better lifestyle choices. So in terms of why insurance companies are doing this, the hope is that these tools can provide lower insurance claims and provide for savings and reduce the severity of illness. The second, and so this can be in fact a win-win for consumers and insurance companies. The second, I guess, main reason would be for stronger engagement by insurance companies with the policyholders, so they have a greater connection, not only through insurance, but also through these other digital tools. And of course, these tools allow for enhanced data collection and analysis, which can help improve their underwriting abilities and provide insights into consumer behavior. So I think, broadly, the insurance companies are basically leveraging the growing wellness ecosystem. We're offering these different types of tools, some of which can be very broad, some are very targeted. But at the end of the day, the hope is that there's a win-win for both policyholders and insurance companies.
Okay, thank you, Timothy. I will switch back to French. Augustin Mine, alors, donc, juste pour aller peut-être dans le vif du sujet, quelles sont aujourd'hui les tendances des pratiques digitales? Parce que bien sûr, quand on parle d'innovation, cela rime avec disruption. Alors, quelles sont ces pratiques disruptives en ce qui concerne les services de santé en Europe? Et est-ce que vous pensez, comme on l'évoquait dans des panels précédents, est-ce qu'il y a une vision qui est, appelons-la peut-être uniforme, mais peut-être unifiée, où chaque pays, bien sûr, se distingue par rapport aux autres, par rapport à ces trends digitaux?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I'm going to switch back to English because, for example, for Timothy, I think it's easier to understand.
Thank you. That's why I switched to English in the first time. So thank you for respecting Mr. Bishop. Thank you.
No worries. No, I think so. Thanks for the very interesting question. I think it's actually good timing that we're after the panel that came before. And explained those different types of system and how different they can be around the world, because innovation will effectively have to adapt to the locality of the healthcare systems. If you take the example of Spain and the UK, for example, which are what we call supplementary systems, where the function of private health insurance is really about facilitating access to care in a private parallel network. Here innovation comes from effectively bridging the digital and physical worlds for the insureds, and that's mainly through effectively teleconsultation and effectively having kind of a doctor in your pocket. We're far away from what you can see in complementary systems such as France, for example, where there's a real opportunity to innovate on the technological side, on the services. And for example, if you think about France, which is a complementary market, speed of reimbursement is extremely important to people. And this is one area where insurers have been able, and for example, us at Allen have been really focused on. We today reimburse about 2/3 of our claims in less than an hour. And this is a major change. So it's one way of innovating in the complementary system, not something that would be possible in the supplementary system, since reimbursement is not really a question. So I think there's no uniformity in the bigger sense. There are some common trends. I think when you talk about facilitating access to care, COVID has played an immense role here. And when we talk about teleconsultation, when we talk about offering, better mental health support or coaching to insurers, these are all things you can do throughout the world, independent almost of the underlying healthcare system. I'd say where it's different is really about the services you provide in terms of how you manage health insurance for your insureds. So I'm going to stop talking here because I'd be interested in the views of others, but some uniform trends, but really many differences depending on the systems and the countries.
We're going to certainly get back to that. How about current practices, Christian Grigorovich? Nextcare is one of the largest TPA players in the market where it operates. So being a company of Allianz Partner, how are your customers getting global access to care?
By leveraging the presence that we have across the globe, and by the fact that what we have been doing for the past few years, which is building a unified provider network across the globe. This is still in the ramp-up phase. We have wide network today. We have a very wide presence into the different market. We offer local and international product into the different jurisdictions where we operate. We also offer access to our various network to third party, which is allowing us to build scale. And in medical, scale is very important, specifically when you talk about provider network, when you talk about direct billing, tiers payant. So this is very important. You need to have those agreements in place. We talked about in the session before, they were talking about the conventions, les agréments. So this is about putting all that together and have that ability to provide that access to members. And that access can be physical. Well, it's gonna be physical when you need treatment, but it also, with COVID, so Wissam was mentioning, with COVID now this has accelerated. You have that access that is also available now virtual. And again, it varies by jurisdiction, because in many jurisdictions, the virtual access has to be regulated, have to be a local virtual access, not accessing doctors from cross-border doctors, but locally licensed doctor. So that as well is something that we have been putting in place, where through a unique window, whether it's our window or a white label window, you're also able to access those different providers across the globe, depending on the location that you are present in. And it's of course as well, by building all that and leveraging our presence into those different markets where we are, we have been able to provide this service to our clients. So today, if we talk about the service company today, which we are operating under the Allianz brand, we are present in 13 markets, and we have other markets that we are expanding on, not to mention again where the group is present and how we're leveling on again those presence.
Okay. Okay. Is there Timothy Bishop? Of course, there might be challenges on the form of or related to regulations and policies. So would you please describe us some of those issues and how maybe to tackle them in a better manner or in the best manner?
Yeah, thanks. I'll answer the first question. I'll try my best to answer the second part of the question. I think one of the main issues is whether these digital tools can be proven to be reliable and trustworthy and provide health benefits to policyholders. And there's a risk that they're inaccurate or unreliable. And what's potentially concerning is policyholders may rely on information provided by these digital tools to make health-related decisions. And there have been examples of problems, for instance, with skin cancer risk assessment apps underestimating the risk of skin cancer, as well as blood alcohol apps overestimating blood alcohol levels. And for this reason, health regulators have, in a sense, come into the field to regulate these apps, at least some of these apps, as medical devices. And like I said, this is really for the purpose of protecting the health of policyholders and making sure that these apps, where they are, insofar as they are sort of really targeted at diagnosing, mitigating, or addressing specific diseases, that they be properly regulated. So that's a key issue. There have been developments in recent years where health regulators have provided for carve-outs for these apps, where if these apps are more targeted at general wellness and health, and insofar as they are addressing specific conditions and healthy lifestyles are seen as supportive of addressing these conditions, and that is also substantiated in the literature, then there is scope for health and life insurance to provide these apps without having to be subject to these medical device regulation. I think the other key issue, as you can imagine, given that these apps are based on data and rely on many cases on third-party providers that are accumulating data, key issue is consumer trust and confidence, and in particular privacy and data protection. So, as you may know, in some countries, especially in the European Union, this type of data is heavily regulated, and there's actually a general prohibition in the European Union on the collection of health data unless there's an explicit consent by the policyholder or the consumer in this regard. And some countries may, despite that exemption, may still have a prohibition. So there are basically quite a number of rules in OECD countries that either through privacy and data security legislation, or through health insurance or health regulation also, that provide for, that basically impose restrictions on the use of the data and for ensuring proper security. The final dimension of, as you can imagine, is insurance regulation. In some countries, there may be a pre-approval that's required, and this is just linked to a broader issue of whether insurance, to the extent to which insurance can provide ancillary services. In some countries, it's pretty open, and in some countries, there's regulatory approvals that may be needed for this purpose, and that's really to ensure that products being offered by insurance companies are appropriate for policyholders. And again, some countries will have different regimes, but in many instances, there may be a prior approval, like I said. There may be legislation or regulation governing product governance and oversight. And I guess importantly for these apps, because some of them may in fact provide for premium rebates, there may be issues around the ability of insurance companies to provide premium reductions, because often through these incentive systems, as policyholders engage in more healthy activity, they may move up status ladders, and they may be offered premium reductions. In some countries that may be permissible, in other countries that there could be a problem in terms of the ability of insurance companies, because of regulation, to offer policy rebates. And I guess linked to that, there's potential issue of unfair discrimination. And some countries have fairly strong rules regarding the extent to which discrimination can be undertaken, and there's a risk that these apps will facilitate some form of discrimination or another because of the way they can collect data and finally tune their offerings. So I guess I think from what I can see, regulators are aware of these issues, and they're addressing these problems in some form or another. But we're going to be looking at this issue a bit more. So I can't fully respond, but just to say that the insurance regulators and health regulators are on top of these issues.
Okay. Augustin Mine, alors, what is the value of being a specialized player? Of course, from paying claims to becoming a health partner. How would you describe the proper value of specializing?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think it's increasingly becoming clear that there is value in being a specialized player in health insurance. Health insurance is a very, very different type of insurance to any other type of insurance, and I think it starts from just the way you sell it. In many countries, and increasingly, the importance of collective contracts is increasing. Sometimes, like in France, complementary health insurance is actually a legal obligation, and as such, you're increasingly talking to companies who want to offer that benefit to their employees, and starting from the way you sell it, in those discussions, you speak to HR professionals. You don't speak to the CFO or finance-related people as you may when you're looking to insure your fleet of vans, for example. And so it's really about, it's a very different kind of discussion. And having that legitimacy that comes with expertise from knowing exactly what you're talking about, which goes beyond just insurance. It's really an employee benefit. It's taking care of people that you're talking about. I think has a lot of value. I also think that with the development of digital health services, the difference between specialized players and players who just happen to play in the game and pay claims effectively is becoming striking. And members and insured people generally see that. There is increasing expectations around a minimum set of services, around a minimum type of service for members that simply not everyone is going to be able to provide, no matter how much you rely on specialized external third parties, which can be very useful at times, but eventually it's about offering a fully integrated experience to members. And so the more partners you add, the more difficult that becomes. If we take an example as well, health insurance in France, for example, is as much about providing health insurance to end users and members as it is as helping HR professionals meeting a legal obligation. HR professionals have to effectively ensure that their employees are being covered, that they're meeting their legal obligations, and for that, we, for example, at Allen, help them by building specific tools that make their day-to-day very easy in terms of how they manage health insurance. So not being a specialized player will effectively make it much harder for you to compete in this world, for example. We also, thinking through that, I think there's many different types of insurers, and I can take, for example, a smaller mutuelle in France, who may be, smaller players who do not have the technological capabilities to invest in building health services, yet have a deep understanding of a specific market or certain type of population. They can be stuck in the middle. And so for this, what we're trying to do is, for example, making our platform available to those players such that we can bring everyone on the same level in terms of the services that are provided to the insureds. So all in all, I think there's a lot of value in being a specialized player, and I think the advent of technology and the increasing expectations from insured people will effectively go more and more towards those players that effectively can offer you the right services.
Maybe there's also the option to have specialized services within big players that are not specialized, as you just described, and of course who adopt innovation and new trends in their strategies without being really specialized in one field. And that brings me to my next question. And Laurent Biot, who is with me on set today. So I just recall that you're CEO Next Care Morocco. What are the new products and services that you within Next Care Morocco planning to develop in line with the global trends we just mentioned in different interventions?
Do you mind if I speak French?
I don't mind. Mr. Bishop, I would just invite you to maybe click on the translation if you want to get the intervention of Mr. Biot in English, because he's...
Ça va, je comprends le français.
Ah, mais il fallait le dire depuis le début, du
voilà.
coup.
Donc, je
suis québécois. Je suis québécois.
OK. Nice surprise.
Non, mais peut-être avant de répondre directement à votre question, juste me présenter un petit peu plus en détail, parce que c'est mon premier bal à Casablanca. Hein. Je n'ai pas eu l'occasion d'intervenir en public avant.
Inch'Allah, comme vous dites.
Et donc voilà, je travaille au sein d'un groupe dont le nom vous est sans doute familier, le groupe Mondial Assistance depuis 25 ans. Maintenant, ce groupe s'appelle Alliance Partner. Et en fait, toute ma carrière a été la moitié de ma carrière en France et la moitié de ma carrière à l'étranger. Alors, quand je dis l'étranger, c'est l'étranger par rapport au Maroc et l'étranger par rapport à la France. J'étais en fait en Asie pendant la plupart de ma carrière. Alors, pourquoi suis-je au Maroc ? Le Maroc, pour moi, avant d'arriver ici, donc au mois de septembre, c'était... déjà, je croyais que le couscous, ça venait forcément avec des merguez. Ça, c'est la base. Et ensuite, les deux Marocains les plus célèbres que je connaissais, c'était Aziz Bouderbala et Badou Zaki, parce que j'avais suivi l'épopée en 86 de très très près. Donc je venais de très loin. Alors, je croyais que c'était important que je précise ça pour vous montrer, pour vous expliquer d'où je parle, en fait. Comme ces personnages du roman de Montesquieu, là, les lettres persanes, je suis un petit peu le persan qui découvre Paris et qui le décrit à ses amis. Donc je viens avec, je dirais, toute ma fraîcheur, toute ma naïveté par rapport à ce pays et par rapport à ce marché, mais avec aussi ces 25 ans d'expérience que j'ai. Donc j'espère que ce regard particulier peut être utile. Peut-être que j'enforce des portes ouvertes aussi, hein, c'est très possible. Vous m'en excuserez à ce moment-là, mais peut-être aussi que je vois des choses que peut-être vous voyez aussi, mais que vous n'osez pas dire. Voilà. Donc c'était la précision que je voulais faire avant de répondre à votre question. Donc quels sont les besoins de ce marché, les besoins d'innovation de ce marché et que j'ai pu observer depuis les 7 mois où je suis là. Je dirais, j'en vois essentiellement deux, dont le premier n'est pas forcément complètement digital, c'est un besoin de simplification et de simplification des process et du parcours, j'allais dire du parcours client, du parcours du bénéficiaire. Moi-même, je suis assuré santé au Maroc et je dois bien vous dire qu'entre bulletins d'adhésion, bulletins de soins qui sont différenciés entre les différents assureurs, c'est assez difficile, même pour moi qui suis à la tête donc d'une entreprise qui gère les sinistres santé, de pouvoir me faire rembourser par mes équipes parce que simplement j'ai toujours oublié un document, j'ai toujours oublié quelque chose. Ou alors il manque un tampon, une signature. Je pense que vous voyez ce à quoi je fais référence. Donc, le contexte de la généralisation de l'AMO peut être la meilleure des choses parce que ça imposera une certaine harmonisation. Ça va permettre donc déjà l'innovation va arriver par ce biais-là. Mais si ce n'est pas accompagné, c'était beaucoup souligné dans les interventions de ce matin, et si ce n'est pas progressif, si ce n'est pas concerté, ça peut être la pire des choses parce que ça rajoutera encore un élément de complexité avec une partie des soins remboursés d'un côté, une partie des soins remboursés de l'autre. Donc, une des choses auxquelles Nextcare voudrait contribuer aussi, c'est cette harmonisation, donc cette simplification des process. La deuxième chose, je dirais, c'est peut-être au niveau de ce qu'en anglais on appelle la customer centricity. Je ne sais pas comment traduire en français, pour être honnête. Donc, de considérer l'assuré non pas comme un usager, mais comme un client, je dirais, et de simplifier son parcours. Donc là, en regardant ce que Nextcare fait à travers le monde et que Christian expliquait tout à l'heure, il y a un stock d'idées et d'expériences que l'on a et qu'on peut développer. Je pense en particulier à quelque chose qui a été aussi évoqué dans le panel précédent, c'est-à-dire la gestion de réseau de prestataires et le tiers payant. Personne n'a évoqué le tiers payant jusqu'à présent dans ces débats. Pour moi, c'est une évolution qui est presque inévitable, hein, et qui est sans doute souhaitable. Le tiers payant, ça permet au lieu d'être dans un marché de remboursement où donc il peut y avoir des mauvaises surprises, des choses pas couvertes, des choses qu'on s'aperçoit après, là, l'assuré ne paye que le reste à charge.
Très bien. Alors, voilà. Je me permets de vous interrompre parce qu'il nous reste très peu de temps et je voudrais juste qu'on passe aux services digitaux que vous proposez et que vous offrez aux membres assurés. Allez-y, vous avez 1 minute 42.
Très bien, je vais essayer de respecter le temps. Évidemment, toutes ces simplifications ne peuvent aller que via la digitalisation et de donner une expérience digitale complètement fluide pour le remboursement. On a déjà évoqué le sujet. Il faut aussi que cette expérience soit totalement digital, c'est-à-dire les freins que constitue le statut légal des documents dématérialisés ou la signature électronique, bon, c'est quelque chose qu'il va falloir relever. Sinon, grâce au digital, on peut arranger le parcours de soins et le rendre beaucoup plus fluide et lisible, que l'on parle donc du triage, hein, c'est-à-dire que l'on oriente les gens vers le type de soins qui leur convient, pour la gestion du réseau, pour la gestion des remboursements s'il y a, et puis au-delà aussi au niveau de la prévention, au niveau de la prise de rendez-vous, au niveau de la télémédecine évidemment qui fait partie du triage. Donc c'est toute cette gamme de produits qui ont été développés par Nextcare pour l'ensemble des pays MENA, que je vais puiser pour essayer de contribuer à ma manière à l'amélioration de la situation du marché marocain.
En tout cas, c'est une noble mission que celle que vous apprêtez. Non, que vous apprêtez pas, que vous êtes déjà dedans.
Depuis 7 mois, oui. Depuis 7 mois. On dit que 7 ans, c'est l'âge de raison pour les enfants. J'espère que 7 mois, c'est l'âge de raison pour les dirigeants d'entreprise.
Je vous le souhaite aussi. Je vous le souhaite aussi, mais en tout cas, un mal pour un bien. Vous intervenez en pleine transition de façon mondiale, mais aussi au Maroc par rapport à ces systèmes de santé. Alors, je voudrais juste renouveler mes remerciements à Christian Gregorovitch. Merci beaucoup d'avoir été avec nous.
Merci pour vous aussi.
Et j'espère que l'année prochaine, on aura l'occasion d'échanger en présentiel et en live, pas à distance.
J'espère aussi moi-même.
Merci beaucoup à vous également, Augustin Mine de Lane. Merci d'avoir enrichi cette discussion aujourd'hui.
Non, merci à vous. Et peut-être qu'un jour, Alan viendra au Maroc.
Certainement. On a besoin d'innovation un peu partout dans le monde. Et Timothy Bishop, merci. Merci pour la surprise et merci surtout pour tous les insights que vous avez partagés avec nous.
Merci beaucoup et j'espère que je pourrai être présent physiquement à la prochaine Rendez-vous Casablanca.
On le souhaite aussi et merci à vous également. Et bon vent pour vous dans votre aventure, dans vos aventures marocaines.
Merci.
Benoît, merci. Laurent, pardon. Merci. Je ne sais pas pourquoi je vous appelle Benoît. Merci.